vulva.
Okay. We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
I got no music. I got no sound on you.
There, can you hear me now?
There we go.
Oh, Lord, what the hell happened there? I thought I hit the mute button, then I thought I was unmuted. Good evening, Dr. Jared Johnson. That's what I said when I got in here.
Not a good start.
Technical difficulties right off the bat. Hello to you, Tony Petrosky. Jared, as usual, before we click the live button here, we're sitting solving all the world's problems, coming up with phenomenal inventions that are approved by my wife, supported fully by my wife. So, we might be going down a new business venture here in the very near future. Starting on mute. That's right, Dwayne Jones. Good to see you. Rick, good to see you from the YouTube page. Bobby, welcome in the comment section here. So this is what we're going to do, guys. Look, I feel like it has been kind of a slow type week here with the bye week last weekend. There was some good football in the Big Ten. Jared, did you watch Penn State, Indiana? Did you watch Oregon, Iowa? What did you take away from this weekend slate of games? Besides the fact that you were obviously gambling heavily and doing degenerate behavior over the weekend. We know that was happening.
I did not gamble heavily this weekend. Moderately. We watched
fine
I
heavily.
can't believe you asked me if I watched the Penn State Indiana game. We were texting the entire game. You think I was just
that's right. That's right. We were texting.
We were texting play by play.
I have no memory these days.
Wow.
My memory is like shot these days. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's like,
remember, because I was telling you should have bet on it because you picked it, and then it turned out that you shouldn't have bet. And if I on gambling. Yeah.
If I would have bet $100, because I sent you a text right before Indiana Penn State kicked off, I said Penn State's going to knock off Indiana today, and then it seemed like for a while there. And I got a good friend who's a big time Penn State fan. He is going through it this year, like compared to what the expectation was going into the season to where they're at now. Tough ride.
What you just said. That's like the 2023 team just imploding, because that's what they did. That's what Penn State did, right? They brought everybody back. I mean, the quarterback came back, both running backs, all the defenses. Like that's what the 2023 team did, right? They brought all the. That Penn State team against Indiana looked like the Penn State team that you thought you were going to get this year.
Right.
And then they just imploded. Could you imagine if that had happened to us in 2023?
That would have been wild. Jim Harbaugh gets fired. Wolverines fall off like that. It creates a totally different timeline. Dwayne Jones said he saw the game except the game-winning drive.
What?
How the hell does that happen? How does that happen, Dwayne Jones?
Yeah, you got to answer that in the comments. Where did you go? You left.
Well, you know what? We might be able to address this because I'm thinking of this now in another way. We might be able to address this comment from Dwayne Jones later in the show. That might be a fair or foul situation here. I don't know how that happens. You go the entire game, you watch this play out, and then you miss the game-winning drive, unless you had some sort of obligation where you had to leave. Like
what obligation? Kids being born? Wife, you got this. I'll be there in a minute. It's
right. There's a wedding. You got some errand you have to run. Like there's life beyond sports, Jared. Believe it or not. For those of us that aren't degenerates, like we live outside of the world of sports.
What do you take care of your kids?
Oh, okay. Well, Dwayne Jones not redeeming himself here. He went to the kitchen to make a snack.
what kind of snack was it? A roast? How long was it? Yeah, that's not good, dude.
That's a fan fail right there. That is a fan fail from Dwayne Jones. We will address that later in the show. Tony Petrosky says emergency bathroom run. See, that's acceptable. Emergency bathroom run, acceptable. Emergency snack run during the game-winning drive, not acceptable.
You don't bring the phone and watch football when you're doing an emergency bathroom run?
Yeah, I listen. I did that. We had to make a trip to the grocery store. We were trying to put together some meals for the rest of the week, and had to go buy the ingredients. And I was walking through the aisles of Meijer with YouTube pulled up on my phone and watching Indiana Penn State phenomenal game. That's right. TFG to you, Dwayne Jones. Jared, look, this weekend's game against Northwestern. Before we clicked live, we were talking through it a little bit, and I said, In terms of the game itself, I think the matchup, not a lot of intrigue. There's a lot of cool things happening around it. I mean, Michigan going to Chicago, first time the Wolverines are going to be playing in Wrigley Field, which I think is going to be an incredible setting. I am very excited to go out there just from a personal standpoint, take my family out there, be in the stadium to be able to witness that, for me to be down on the field and be able to capture that with my photos. I'm very excited to that. But in terms of the game itself, like, I don't know. I'm going into this one with supreme confidence for the Michigan Wolverines. I don't think they're going to be tested. But, Jared, when you and I talked about it before we went live, you seem to think that Northwestern might have a little something for the Wolverines on Saturday. What's playing into that mindset?
Well, like you said, you think it's going to be a heavy run game. I agree with you. I think Michigan's going to do that. But if you've looked traditionally at games that they've played in these, baseball stadiums, the field's never that great. And that affects, running and cutting. Good thing that we have Jordan Marshall, who apparently doesn't like to cut and just runs people over. So it shouldn't be too much of an issue with him. But I think that, playing in an iconic area, iconic stadium, Northwestern is not a terrible team. Now, we looked them up. Some of their stats are averaging 21 points a game. So that's not scary or anything. But and the other part is just this Michigan team, man. You just never know what you're going to get. And but like you had a good point too. You talked about the weather, so thank God it's going to be a little bit warmer and not raining and all that. So they could throw the ball if they need to. They hopefully they don't have to just stick to the run game. But I think that field's probably not going to be the greatest. It just seems like every time I watch a football game on a baseball field, it's terrible. And God, I hope nobody gets hurt. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan certainly wants to avoid the injury bug. When you look at the injuries they've sustained here over the last handful of weeks, I mean, a guy like Cole Sullivan's coming on and starting to make plays, and then he gets hurt and goes out. A guy like Jimmy Rolder's coming on, starting to make plays, then he gets hurt and goes out. Jay-Sean Barham kind of with a lingering injury. Justice Haynes, the big question mark there. Look, Sharon Moore met with the media today. What he said about Justice Haynes is that there's still some hope for a return. They're kind of taking it week to week. Look, you never really know what you're going to get until it's actually game time and you see who's suited up on the field. You're not really ever going to get any concrete answers. So we'll have to wait and see. But obviously, Michigan needs to stay healthy. Tony Petrosky in the comments is talking about they have Portillo's waiting for the Wolverines. My wife's saying Chicago pizza oven grinder. Like, that's a big part of why we're excited to go out there, is to get reacquainted with the food scene out there in the Windy City. But Jared, you're talking about the weather there, and I'm excited for that. So it looks like it's going to be low 60s over the weekend, which, that's going to make for a nice fall Saturday at Wrigley. But when you're right there by the lake in Chicago, you're never quite sure what the weather is going to do. It could get rainy, it could get windy. And so it is going to be a test for the Wolverines. Somebody in the comments, I can't see where it's at this point, but somebody said, look, Northwestern is not going to lay down for the Michigan Wolverines. I think it was Tyrone that said this is Northwestern's Super Bowl. Yeah, this is certainly a big game for Northwestern. It's a big opportunity to make a statement. They do have a couple of solid linebackers, and the one thing that Northwestern does really well is their rushing attack, which is very similar to what Michigan does very well. And so if you're hoping that you're going to see fireworks through the air this weekend, I would just get rid of that mindset immediately, because this has all of the makings of an old-fashioned ground and pound fist fight for 4 quarters between the Wolverines and the Wildcats. Jared, when I look at the rankings here, when I look at the statistics nationally, so first of all, going into this, Michigan enters the game as a 10-point favorite. The Wolverines have won 8 straight over Northwestern. The Wildcats haven't beat Michigan since 2008. I think that game was in Ann Arbor. But total offense, Northwestern ranks 95th in the nation. Michigan ranks 50th. Rush offense, Northwestern ranks 42nd. Michigan is 12th in the nation in rush offense. Total defense, Northwestern's 33rd in the country. Michigan is 19th in the country. So both of these teams coming in with relatively solid defenses. But then when you look at the rush defense, and we know that both of these teams offensively are going to want to run the ball. Rush defense, Northwestern ranks 64th in the nation. They're giving up about 140 yards per game on the ground. Michigan comes into this one ranked 12th in the nation in rush defense. And so this one certainly seems like it's leaning in Michigan's favor. Again, you're going to have to see what kind of bodies they have available, because if you're down Jimmy Rolder, if you're down Cole Sullivan, if you're down Jay-Sean Barham, like those are big time losses. Even though Michigan is deep at linebacker, it's just going to be, I'm intrigued to see what this team looks like coming out of a bye and going into an environment that is, it's a historical environment. It's a new environment. You're playing at you're playing in a baseball stadium, but also Is it going to be same old Michigan? Are we going to see a little bit, something new, some new wrinkles out of this offense? Are we going to see something that's going to give us some hope that offensively this team can put together some consistency and hopefully by the time November 29th rolls around, be able to knock off Ohio State? I guess, Jared, let me ask it this way. What is the biggest thing you're looking to see from Michigan this weekend? Like, what is it that you want to see from the Wolverines as they take on Northwestern?
You know what I want to see? I just want to see crispness. Just crisp. I don't care if they throw it, whatever they do. Coming out of a bye week like that, I want to see just clean, crisp football, right? Like mistake free. No sexy football. I don't think it's going to happen. I just don't think it's going to happen. We talked before. I think they're just going to run the ball. I think.
Listen, Jared. It depends on what your definition of sexy is, right?
Like all last week.
Sure. Like we know what my definition of sexy is, but some people don't mind seeing 50 rushes a game, a sort of 4-quarter fist fight where it's all ground and pound type thing. There's some people that look at that and think that's sexy football. I think one guy who thinks that is Sharon Moore, who's the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines. He's totally fine running that. That is his version of a sexy brand of football.
Sexy's a win.
Yeah,
exactly. A win is sexy to me. That's what I think. And so I want to throw it out there. So they said it's going to be 62. So it's going to be 88 where I'm watching the game. I just wanted to throw that out, but just random.
We know.
On the beach.
This guy's always, for some odd reason, it's like every other weekend, Jared's hopping on a plane and flying off to Puerto Rico for some reason. I don't know if you're drug smuggling. I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but you just kind of like, you spend a lot of time over there in Puerto Rico.
I'm just export business, Chris. That's all I'm going to say.
Here's what I'm looking for.
It's the Feds.
I just want to see consistency.
Yep.
I want to see the Michigan. Like, I get it. Northwestern is a good team, right? I'm not trying to take anything away from Northwestern, but Michigan is a better football team. And on Saturday, I want to see Michigan prove that. I want to see them be the aggressor. I want to see them dictate the pace. I want to see them own time of possession. I know they're going to lean on the rushing attack with Jordan Marshall and Bryson Cusdahl and Jasper Parker. We heard that from Sharon Moore today. So you're going to see a steady rotation, which is a good thing because you have to protect Jordan Marshall. You got to make sure he's healthy for November 29th. But I think Michigan's going to continue to do what it does best, which is lean on the rushing attack. But I also want to see in the instances where they do lean on Bryce Underwood in this pass attack, I want to see some consistency. And damn it, Jared, I want to see the wide receivers. I get it. We know that they need to bring better wide receivers to Ann Arbor. We know that they need to stack the deck. We talked about that on the last show, that if a premier wide receiver enters the transfer portal this offseason, Michigan has to be the most aggressive team in pursuit. There is no excuse not to do that. But they got to use the guys that they have right now. And so on Saturday, there's going to come a time where they got to move the ball through the air. I just want to see guys make plays. I think not just only as a fan, I think that that's going to be an exciting thing to see from this offense, but even more importantly for these guys to see it, to know that they can do it and to start to develop a rhythm before you get into that final regular season game, especially if this plays out the way we think it's going to play out, where Michigan's going to beat Northwestern. Then they're going to go on the road, beat Maryland, and then you're going to come back to Ann Arbor and you're going to be playing the Buckeyes for a spot in the college football playoff and looking to get your 5th consecutive win. And so Michigan will lean on the rushing attack on Saturday. All the metrics are lining up to suggest that. But at the end of the day, you still got to have a passing attack. You still have to be competent in the passing attack. And I just want it to not look like it's a foreign thing to them on Saturday. Like, I don't want to have those what the hell moments, what am I looking at moments. I guess if I could sum it all up that way, I feel like I spent a lot of time against Purdue feeling that way. And maybe to a certain extent, a lot of time against Michigan State feeling that way. Like, what the hell are these guys doing?
The other thing, too, you touched on a little bit. We got to think towards the Ohio State game. I don't think Justice is going to come back. I just don't think you have foot surgery and come back and play at this level like that. I don't know if it's even worth his career.
You're the doctor. You tell us.
And that's what I'm saying. And please stop sending me those pictures. I'm not that type of doctor, Chris. But you need to get that checked out for sure. But anyways,
that's why I send it to you. That is me getting it checked out.
That's not good, buddy. But I think you need to get Cusdahl and Parker some reps too to figure out who's going to be the number 2 back with Ohio State. Because even when Blake was the number one guy, right? Dono came out and made big plays. Dono had big runs. Dono, Jordan Marshall is not going to run every snap against Ohio State. It just ain't going to happen. I mean, that's a tough defense. He's going to be getting smacked. So we got to figure out over the next 2 games. And I wonder, I'm going to ask you this, Chris, is it more important over the next 2 games to you now that we know that Michigan is a ground and pound team and we think that that's how they're going to beat Ohio State? That seems to be their blueprint. Is it more important that they figure out the air attack, or is it more important that they figure out who's going to be that number 2 back if Haynes isn't in?
I think it's more important that you get some momentum in the passing game. I get that that's not their DNA, and I get that Michigan is never going to be a team that leans on the pass attack unless like you're down 14 or 21 and you absolutely, time is of the essence and you got to move the ball. But we have seen now, and I said this on the last show, Bryce Underwood did not throw a touchdown pass against Michigan State. He did not throw a touchdown pass against Purdue. So by the time Michigan takes the field this weekend, it's going to be a month since Bryce Underwood last threw a touchdown pass. I just don't see any scenario where that's okay. I don't see any scenario where as a Michigan fan, you're like, you know what? That's fine. That's a dangerous way to live. That's playing with fire. And so I understand and believe that they're going to be able to run the ball against Northwestern. I get that they'll be able to do that. But I just think, like, if you're asking me what would I prefer, figure out who RB2 or 3 is, or get some momentum in the passing game, I say get some momentum in the passing game. It's not an ideal time of year to do it, right? You're now in November, and by the time November 29th comes around, we've talked about this, shitty weather, cold weather, probably going to be windy, and you're going to win that game by whoever runs the ball most effectively. It's going to be won in the trenches. But I would just like to see some consistency through the air. I would like to see Donovan McCulley get an opportunity downfield and go up and actually make the play. I'd like to see Andrew Marsh continue what he's built on with his momentum. I'd like to see those guys get involved. Hell, Jared, I'd like to see Marlon Klein reappear and start to make some plays in the passing game. I would like to see the tight ends get involved. It doesn't always have to be 50-yard bombs down the field, but can you just move the ball efficiently through the air with the weapons you have? And I think if Michigan can show that it can do that, not to the fans, but to themselves, I think you go into that final game of the regular season just feeling confident, like, hey, we are not a one-dimensional team. There are different things that we can do. So for me, I say, make some things happen through the air on Saturday against Northwestern.
Your dream scenario is Bryce, because we think they're going to run this game, but Maryland, Bryce comes out, throws for 330 yards, 3 touchdowns, Michigan wins. Because now, I mean, and I get what you're saying, because now Matt Patricia has to kind of look and say, all right, hold on. They can throw the ball, because Maryland is a decent-ish team. You know what I mean? They're not playing Central Michigan and throwing 330. Anytime you throw 300 against a Big Ten team, I think it's a decent thing. So, I mean, so I kind of get what you're saying there, because if Matt Patricia's a good defensive coordinator, if all he's got to worry about is the run game, I'm with you. We're going to be in a little bit of trouble there. He's no joke. He was a horrible Lions head coach, and he's a piece of shit, but he's a good defensive coordinator. I got a little I apologize.
I'd like to see 21 of 28 for like 278 through the air and a couple of touchdowns from Bryce. Like, I don't think that's asking the world of a guy who's that talented.
Which exactly what he did against Washington, by the
way.
Right.
Show me something that like similar to what we saw against Washington, but I want to see it on the road, and I want to see it against a defense that can be, a little bit difficult. Let's see what some of the fans have to say before we move on to something else here. Anthony McMillan is that McMillan? McMillican? Anthony McMillican from the Facebook page says 100% just stay healthy. Like, yeah, there's no question that staying healthy is certainly going to be a big priority for the Wolverines. I mentioned it before we got into it, that the Wolverines have been dealing with a lot of injury issues throughout the season. And, a lot of key guys right now that are kind of iffy and you're not really sure exactly when they're going to return. Dwayne Jones from the Facebook page, he's the guy who lost or missed out on that final drive, the game-winning drive from Penn State and Indiana, because he had to go to the kitchen to get a snack, ladies and gentlemen. He says, I don't want to wonder what the F they're doing during the bye week. I want to see them look well prepared. I think that's a valid thing. Like, if there's one thing that I think fans felt during the Purdue game, a lot of things I heard was unprepared, uninspired football, right? Yeah. That was what we heard about the Michigan Wolverines against Purdue.
That's what we saw.
Right. And that's what we saw. And that's what it looked like. It looked sloppy. It looked confusing. It didn't look like they were very confident in what they were doing. I agree with Dwayne Jones wholeheartedly. I would like to see a team that comes out, looks prepared, is on a mission, and then goes out and executes. And I don't think that's asking for a lot if you're a fan.
Yep.
Let's see. Harold Pohl from the Facebook page says, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, you're good. No, I agree 100%. That's what I think you want to turn that game on, start watching it, and be able to point and say, okay, they clearly worked on that. Okay, you know what I mean? And I agree with him on that 100%. You want to be able to a noticeable difference. You've had 2 weeks to dial in some things that, this is a good team. Otherwise, a lot of freshmen, but I agree.
Yeah. Harold Pohl from the Facebook page says he wants to run it down their throat, eat clock, and then keep resting the defense because Michigan's defense is beat up a little bit. Look, I'm not going to push back on any of that. Bobby Brasher from the Facebook page says he expects 50 carries by Michigan in this game divided up among the 3 running backs. Bobby, I think it's probably highly likely that you're going to see something like that on Saturday. Tyrone from the Facebook page asks, why haven't we seen Kendrick Bell get any action? It's an interesting question. I think the same could be said for Jamar Browder, is another guy that you think about. I know he's come in spurts, but Michigan has been looking clearly for wide receivers to emerge in this offense. I'm not going to go down the Samaj Morgan road again, but it's clear that they don't have like a solidified group of guys that they can rely on that are consistent. And honestly, I think the answer to that question, Tyrone, is probably because let me just put his question up here for anybody that's watching. I think he's probably among those guys that are also inconsistent. I know he's had a handful of opportunities here and there. He made a big catch week 1, I think it was, but then he also had a drop.
Terrible
so
drop.
I'm not really sure why he's not able to work himself into the rotation, but if I had to guess, I would say it's because of some of the issues that we've seen is that he's just not consistent enough Monday through Friday to be in a position where he can make an impact on Saturday.
Who do you blame for this inability to identify a wide receiver 3? Like is this a Bellamy thing, or is it purely a talent thing? Because I'm again, never been an assistant coach, never been a position coach especially on a level like this, right? I think 5th grade I was a position coach, but is Bellamy just not going out there and saying, hey, listen, somebody has to become this wide receiver 3? You got, and it seems like they're just rotating guys in and out, and having played that position, reps do matter, right? And game comfort matters. And if you're coming in, you're running a route, you get a pass thrown at you, you drop it, and then you never play again. You know what I mean?
Well, so there's a couple of things to that. I think one of the things is that it goes back to what I talked to about the passing game in general and just why I want to see more out of it. And for the reason you just said, Jared, I think if you spend the vast majority of the game just blocking downfield and not really being like a part of what's happening, and then all of a sudden Bryce Underwood's firing something at you like an 80-mile-an-hour fastball and you got to try to come up with it. I'm not putting it all on Bryce Underwood, but I'm saying that Michigan's offense really, as isn't conducive to wide receivers getting comfortable in the flow of the game because most of what you're being asked to do is block downfield. So I think that's a part of it. But I think the other part of it, Jared, to your question is, yeah, it has to fall on Ron Bellamy and Sharon Moore. I mean, Ron Bellamy is the wide receivers coach. He's been doing that for a while. I think he's an awesome dude, great guy. Like, I've never heard anybody say anything negative about the type of guy that he is. Right. But what we've seen from the wide receivers this year isn't good enough. I think he knows it. I think the guys in that building know it. And I would be shocked if they felt otherwise. I mean, you heard, what was it? Week 7, they were talking about getting on the jugs machine and getting back to fundamentals and learning how to catch the ball with your hands. It's like, you guys are wide receivers at the University of Michigan. Like, this is shit you learn in Pop Warner. So like, part of that has to fall on Ron Bellamy. And I think that's why it is imperative that, Michigan's gotten away with it for a while now. Like, you had Ronnie Bell, you had Roman Wilson. You've been able to make use of these like smaller type shifty guys that weren't like premier type targets, but ended up finding their role at the University of Michigan. I thought that guy was going to be Frederick Moore this year. Frederick Moore is in the transfer portal. At one point in time, I thought it was going to be Andrew Anthony. That never turned out to materialize. So I just think it's been such a long time since Michigan has had a for sure, this is the guy at wide receiver, like a Braylon Edwards type wide receiver prospect at the University of Michigan. That's why I think this offseason, it has to be a top priority to make that happen. And I said it on the last show that, like, I don't want to hear about, well, we went out and got this transfer from UMass, or we went out and got this transfer from another lower level school. Like, there is going to be a big time target that enters the portal this offseason. Michigan has to be first in line and the most aggressive to bring that guy to Ann Arbor.
So at 6:24, Mitten State Sports Corner, and I pointed out to you, posed a question: is Bellamy burned out in this role? So to kind of continue on that path, so along with pursuing, elite wide receivers, do you make a change on Bellamy? Is it time? He's been think about that position in the Harbaugh era, probably the most comfortable position in the entire staff because you weren't throwing the ball. They were running it, right? Like as a wide receivers coach, what was your job? Teach your guys how to block. Every once in a while, you catch a pass here and there, right? Like,
yeah. Well, there's
now Michigan's transitioning to passing. Maybe he can't do it. Maybe it's not in his wheelhouse. And then missing out on Calvin Russell, who we were predicted to land the whole time, like the whole way we were predicted to land that kid, and he ends up in Syracuse. That doesn't make any sense.
Here's what I'll say about that. And to be fair, I think you make a good point. During the Harbaugh era, like you didn't need big time wide receivers because Michigan was going to lean on that NFL caliber offensive line. They were going to lean on Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards and a stable of backs and Hassan Haskins. Like that was how Michigan went about its business. That whole boa constrictor, just lean on you till you break type offense. But I think that overall, while that was fun, while it happened, if you're Ron Bellamy and you're trying to recruit and bring big time wide receivers to Ann Arbor, I just think that's a difficult proposition. And then Harbaugh leaves. And what happens in 2024? You get the Davis Warren offense, where it's the worst passing offense in the entire country, down with the service academies. So really, this is the first year where you could look at it and say, okay, they've got a legitimate quarterback, and it looks like they're trying to do some things through the air that maybe they weren't trying to do before. So I guess that's where I give Ron Bellamy the benefit of the doubt, because I don't think he's ever been in an environment where you can go on the recruiting trail and you can sell it to 5-star wideouts that Ann Arbor is a good destination. Ann Arbor is a place where you're going to get developed, you're going to be in the action, and we're going to send you to the NFL. So in that sense, I think that maybe you got to give him a little bit of leeway and let him sort of try to capitalize on having Bryce Underwood on the recruiting trail. But on the other side of me says, you can't waste Bryce Underwood.
Exactly.
You can't pay $12 million for Bryce Underwood and then in week 7 be teaching you guys how to catch the ball with their hands and be working with the jugs machine. Like those things are incompatible with each other. So I will never come on this podcast and call for a man's job because I just think that's tacky. But what I will do is say the wide receivers haven't been as good as they should be, particularly with the investment you made in the quarterback. I think a lot of us are sitting back and thinking it will get better. That's the hope. But I think it's fair to at least question whether or not Ron Bellamy is the guy that can get the job done with the wide receivers. I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt for reasons I said, that Michigan's offense really hasn't been structured to make that a strong suit, to be able to go on the recruiting trail and sell it. But also, like the clock is ticking. You're going to get Bryce Underwood for 2 more seasons, and you're hoping that it's gonna lead to a championship. Because if it doesn't, that seems like, I don't know if the investment was worth it, Jared. Like if you make $12 million investment into your QB and it doesn't lead to a championship, I think a lot of people are going to sit back and say, what the hell was that all about? And I think looking forward, if it doesn't happen, it's going to be because they never got the passing thing figured out.
Yeah. And if it goes down this route, I can fast forward to that day that Bryce Underwood declares for the NFL and we didn't win shit. And the podcast is going to be me and you just sitting here staring at each other like, what the hell just happened? What did we just do the last 3 years?
Yeah.
Allegedly a generational talent. And I'm with you. I'm never going to call for anybody's job, unless they do something egregious, immoral, something of that nature, things that I do. But it just seems like he's just not. I was shocked as you were when he said, like, we got to get back to the fundamentals halfway through the season.
Yeah. Which, like, in a way,
you're pulling out the jug. What?
Right.
Rothia Brown does that every day, 200 some passes, right? Like every single day, it's routine. It's I wonder if they just don't have that built into their program. Like I've been to some of their practices. I'm not going to say anything about what I've seen at practices, but thinking back, I don't remember too many wide receiver, centric type things happening. That, you know what I mean? It was a lot of run game, a lot of blocking, a lot of what they do, and they do it well. But man, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either, and that's the thing.
Get the portal run, and that's it. What if they go through the portal and he can't land anybody? At that time, you think Sharon says, "Shit, Bub, you might not have it, dude. You might not have it." I don't know. Like Brian Hartline just lands these guys. Now, granted, they throw the ball.
There's a track record of success and development.
Also still getting 5-star running backs. Kinshawn Judkins. They got the Justice Haynes last year of running backs, right? Bo Jackson Jr. He's a freshman. Almost high 4-star, almost 5-star, came to Ohio State knowing they're going to throw the ball. Like they're finding that balance. Like,
well, part of that is because
it's a hard sell. You're changing,
right? And we've talked about this on previous shows. I mentioned it that Ohio State, for as good as they are through the air, like, yeah, if you're a 5-star running back, if you're a 5-star offensive lineman, if you're a 5-star anything in the country, you're looking at a program like Ohio State and you're looking at their track record of success year after year. There are only a handful of programs you can look to around the country and say, if I go there, there is a high probability I'm going to be playing for a national championship at some point in time. And like it or not, Ohio State is one of those programs. And so I think for Michigan, you are on the verge. You're kind of teetering on that tier 2, tier 1, right? You won the national championship. Jared, we talked about it. 3 consecutive Big Ten championships, 3 trips to the college football playoff. You win a national championship. You've beaten that tier 1 Ohio State team now 4 consecutive years, and you got a chance to do it legitimately for a 5th consecutive season. Michigan is there. I just think, man, the constant issues in the passing attack and the fact that, like, you can turn on Ohio State or you can turn on an SEC game and you could watch them push the ball down the field and watch an athlete go up and make an incredible catch, make an incredible play through the air. We saw Donovan McCulley do that against Oklahoma week 2 of the season, right? Where downfield he went up and made an incredible catch. But like, those moments are very few and far in between at Michigan. And a lot of times when it happens, it's not really in an impactful moment. And I just want to see that be a part of it. This has been such a big discussion between you and I, Jared, on this show in terms of like how important that aspect is. And I have come to terms with the fact that Michigan's DNA is always going to be as a run first team. But at some point in time, I just want to see some electricity through the air. I just want to see like, hey, the Michigan Wolverines can also do that, right? I'm fine if like, it's like Ohio State, right? Like, you don't do everything that you can do because you're confident in what you're doing, but like, it just looks very disjointed a lot of times when Michigan has to drop back to pass and they're very unsure and there's a lack of consistency there. And I'm just tired of seeing that.
Yeah. And I'm with you. You talk about the McCulley catch, and it's almost sad that when you said that, I thought of McCulley's catch. I thought of Marsh's little one hand that we talked about. Was that a bad throw? Whatever. But I can't think of anything else for the whole season, but I've watched a couple Ohio State games the last 2 weeks. And there's probably been 5 plays where I was like,
every time,
shit, what was
every
that?
time? Every time there's something that happens and it's impactful in the moment when it happens. It's a big play when they need it. And I mean, I guess when I say they need it, I use that loosely because they're usually playing pretty comfortable, but it comes at a time where it means something. And I think Anthony, from the Facebook page, Anthony Milliken, I want to make sure I get that right because I do have a habit of slaughtering names on here. I think that he's saying it exactly how I feel, where he says nobody is asking for an air raid. And then he follows it up with, we just want a comfortable 250 plus. And that's where I'm at. Like, I don't want 450 yards through the air. I think it'd be great to see it. I think it'd be awesome to see Michigan put together a game like that, but I don't need that week to week. I don't need it to be an air raid offense. I just want to see guys making plays consistently down the field when they're called upon to do so. And because it's so few and far in between and it's so inconsistent, we rarely get that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. 250 is a little much, I think. But I think if you're
I don't think so.
I think it is. From a freshman quarterback, I really do. I think
if $12 million doesn't buy you 250 a game.
Okay, yeah, next year in the third year, 100%. But 250 a game in the Big Ten is not an easy feat. I think if we were in the 200 to 225 consistently week in and week out, that would be solid. 200 to 220. If Bryce Underwood goes out and throws for 225 against Ohio State and our rush game is decent, that's perfect, right? That's what you want.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
And they win. That's it, right?
And they win, right? I don't know, man. Something about a sexy loss over an ugly win. I'm tired of hearing about that, Jared. We've talked about that. I don't want to hear any more. I guess that's what I'm trying to avoid overall. I don't want to hear any more about like, oh, an ugly win is a win. I'm tired of watching ugly football, even when it leads to wins. I need to see some sexiness. Here we are. We're right back to make football sexy again. Make football sexy again.
Make the t-shirt and get it over with.
Zachary Merfield from the Facebook page says 100% agree. I want to see them unleash Bryce, and I hope it's at Wrigley. We will be there. I am excited for you to be there. It's going to be an incredible game. I would not hold your breath that Bryce Underwood is going to be unleashed at Wrigley Field against Northwestern.
I don't think so.
Like I said, when you look at what these teams do well, all of this is lining up for both teams to really try to run the ball and do a bulk of their work on the ground. Marlon from the Facebook page says, we don't need Bryce to drop bombs, but to be more of a downfield passing threat than what we had last year. Well, look, we're already far beyond what we were last year.
Averaging 191 yards a game.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. We're far beyond what we were last year. But he continues. He says, if we can do that, we can run the ball, own the line of scrimmage, and they can do what they did last year, but make it look better. I think that's what we're seeing right now, right? It's pretty much what we saw last year with a little bit more out of the passing game. And for better or worse, Michigan has proven that formula can lead to success. I get that they lost 5 games last year. That's not ideal, but you did beat Ohio State. You did beat Alabama. And I think by doing that, it reinforced that, hey, we can win football games, big time football games, by doing what we do best and what we've always done. And so I don't think there's a lot of an incentive to really change who they are fundamentally. So I think, again, going back to what I said, Michigan's always going to be a run first operation. And that's going back to our conversation about Ron Bellamy, Jared. I think that's a difficult thing when you're the wide receivers coach. I'm not trying to give him a free pass, but I just don't see it. It's NIL certainly helps, right? Offering millions of dollars can certainly help. But beyond that, I think it's a difficult sell if you're Ron Bellamy and Sharon Moore and you're trying to get an elite wide receiver who's looking around at an Ohio State or sees these other programs in the SEC saying, I can go there and I can make big time plays and I know they're going to get me the ball. I think that's a difficult sell if you're those guys. And I'm just not sure how you do it until you prove you can do it on the field. That's the big thing. Like, they can say all the right things and they can offer all the right things. But if I'm a recruit and I sit back and I look at Michigan's pass game from week to week and I try to put myself in that offense, I'm feeling a little bit concerned about what my role is going to be and what my numbers are going to be. And will they get me to the league?
Well, I mean, and we always touch back on this. I mean, they're throwing the ball 20, 25 times a game average, right? He's right behind Julian Sayin on attempts. And like I said, I've never been a recruiter for football. I've recruited for the military, which is slightly different. But I mean, you look at a 5-star and say, listen, bud, you're going to walk out onto this field and probably play day one because we need the talent. Like, I mean, for that, and Michigan has a storied history when it comes to wide receivers. Like, bring it back. You know what I mean? That's what I'd tell a kid. Bring it back. We had Braylon Edwards. You know what I mean? We had Anthony Carter. We had Desmond Howard. Like, bring it back. You know, we've been able to throw the ball. Chip Lindsey, his history, if you're talking to the parents, because you got to sell the parents. I think more than anything, you got to sell mom and dad, right? They got this 5-star kid that's going to go to the league probably. You got to convince them that this is the place to be. Like, Drake May, that offense at North Carolina was incredible with Chip Lindsey, and they brought him back for a reason. They paid Bryce $12 million for a reason. You know, they're recruiting certain ways for a reason. Like, it's a ship. It turns slow, right? So, and I hope they can pull it off. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll go work for them and recruit for Michigan. I don't know. Do everything else.
You do have some recruiting experience. Seth from the YouTube page.
I'll solve all of this.
Seth Scott says he doesn't care for sexy football. He loves watching playing bully ball as long as they are fundamental. They just look like a tank on the field of bicycles in 2023. Hey, and I'll say this. That was what really brought me around to that style of play, was watching Michigan just go and bully everybody on the field. Even though I wanted to see, excitement and fireworks through the air, I came to love that style of football because Michigan was winning as a result. And to watch a team be that dominant, I think, Seth, I'm right there with you. Like, bully ball is something that you can get excited about. But when you're not bullying teams and you're one-dimensional and you're not seeing a lot of fireworks, that's where it starts to wear thin. And so if they're going to continue that brand of football, they're going to have to do a lot of work, especially up front on the offensive line. I know that unit is young. I know that unit has had some key injuries there. But, I don't think that this team is the type of team that can line up and just shove teams around like they were able to do during that incredible run from 21 to 23. And that's where I think at some point in time, you're going to need to have more from the passing game than what you've been getting, at least on a consistent level.
Well, hold on, Chris. I have a hard time believing that when Sharon Moore walks into, that Monday meeting, that somewhere in that top 10, he doesn't have listed, like, what do we want to do for Chris Bryler this week? You know what I mean? Like, how are we going to make Chris Bryler happy? Bring sexy back. Like, I get it. I don't know if the list, you got to be top 3 by now of what we're trying to do this week.
I don't know if people out there realize, but I'm one of the few that do have a legitimate impact on what we see on Saturdays. And so I know that they're watching this show. I know that they're listening to me and taking notes. It's a big part of the game plan. And so I'm just trying to do my part to make sure the team lives up to the expectations that I have of them on Saturday.
Appreciate you. We appreciate it.
There's one other thing I want to talk about this Northwestern game this weekend, not necessarily about like the two teams, but I did want to get into this because I thought it would be an interesting thing. And if there's anybody out there that has anything specifically that you want to bring up about the team or Northwestern or just anything to do with the program, go ahead and throw it in the comments. But Jared, I was thinking about this. Michigan Northwestern at Wrigley Field, an iconic stadium. I know I said this in the intro, but I can't wait to be there and just take it in, soak it all in. I know that Northwestern has played a number of football games there, but I just think that this is going to be such a cool experience. And it got me thinking, like, there's this whole push where like teams are going to play overseas and doing these new experiences. Like, I'm totally fine with scrapping that, but I am also completely open to like a stadium series thing where you see two teams match up in iconic stadiums across the country in the US, where you get to see two teams maybe go to a stadium that they otherwise wouldn't be playing in. I know you get that to a certain extent with the bowl games, but Jared, I know I'm putting you on the spot here because I didn't ask you this question ahead of time. I'm curious, is there a stadium, is there a venue that you can think of where you would say, you know what? I would love to see the Michigan Wolverines play there. If I had a choice, I would like to see them play a game in this stadium.
Wow. I mean, you got to think baseball, right? Because that's the iconic stadiums. They're older. So Wrigley would be, I mean, if they weren't playing right now in Wrigley, I would say that's one. That's
right up there.
That's beautiful, right? I mean, you think about going to Fenway Park and playing somebody out there, with the big green monster. I'll tell you, I went to a Michigan State Penn State game at Ford Field, and even that was awesome. Just because just the loudness of college football inside the dome was a different experience. Now, I will share a little side note here that I did wear my Tom Brady Citrus Bowl jersey, and I got absolutely destroyed by Michigan State fans the entire time. So that was a little bit ruthless, but no, I think. You think man, that Wrigley's got to be up there. That's a great start. I mean, Michigan and Northwestern friggin' nailed this one. Now, this doesn't have anything to do with because they're building that stadium, Northwestern. Is that part of it or no?
It does. Okay, because I think as it is right now,
stadium too, right on the water, right?
Yeah, they are. Rico actually from the Facebook page said Northwestern will have the best stadium in the country when they finish the one they're building. I don't know about best in the country, but what I do know, Rico, is that it's going to be small. I think it's going to be like between 30 and 40,000 seating capacity. Quite a bit less than 40,000. I think it's going to be somewhere around 30,000. But the idea behind the stadium is that every seat in the stadium is going to have a great vantage point. So if you've seen the renderings of Northwestern Stadium that they're working on, beautiful. I agree with Rico. I think it's going to be an incredible viewing experience for anybody that goes there. And I'm not sure how much of this plays a role in it, but the current stadium that they're playing on now, like, I believe you can see the water from the field. Like, it's right on the lake. And so I don't know if it's because Michigan's just going to bring in a bigger fan base or because they're like, you know what, it's November and we're playing on Lake Michigan. Like, maybe we should try to move it off the water a little bit. Probably a little bit of combination A and B. But overall, I think that, this is prior to 2023, Jared, the one place I wanted to see Michigan play an actual football game was the Rose Bowl. That to me was like, if I can see the Wolverines play in the Rose Bowl, I can die a happy man. As far as my fandom is concerned, there it is. Jared's got a rose from the Rose Bowl. That was like number one, top of my list. But in terms of like iconic stadiums and places that you want to see the Michigan Wolverines play, it's hard to get beyond Wrigley Field when you get outside of the Rose Bowl and some of these other ones. I see that Anthony McMillican from the Facebook page says Bristol. We saw that, right? Wasn't it Tennessee went and played at that NASCAR track right in the infield? And you had like 150,000 people were there to see that one. There was somebody here. Let me see it. Bobby from the Facebook page. Bobby from the Facebook page said exactly what I said. Michigan at Lambeau. Michigan versus Wisconsin, I think, at Lambeau Field. That would be an incredible setting for the Michigan Wolverines when I was thinking about it. Sometime late in the year, I picture it being frigidly cold, chilly, snow on the ground, kind of crinkly, and the Wolverines lining up in Lambeau Field. That's another one of those iconic football stadiums that I haven't been in yet. I did go to, I think it was Michigan, Wisconsin, 2021 it was. It was 2021. Jared, have you ever been to that stadium, by the way, Camp Randall?
I've been, not during a game. We did a tour one time when we visited some folks in Wisconsin, counterparts of the National Guard, but not during a game. No.
Gotcha. Camp Randall, I thought like the stadium itself was okay. Beautiful setting, like where the stadium is and the campus is. It's just at the time of the year that we went, it was incredible. The leaves were changing colors. Like it was a beautiful campus. This was the year before I started taking photos. So I was up in the press box in Camp Randall. And when they play jump around in the stadium, like it's an incredible sight to behold. But one of the things that shocked me the most was what happens in the press box during that event. The press box, I'm not shitting you, rocks back and forth about 4 or 5 inches. And so when you're sitting up there, you hear this like creaking, it's like, and you're wondering like, is this supposed to happen? Like, is this structurally safe? Like, it's a really weird thing to be up that high and just sort of moving back and forth and then watching a sea of fans and students jumping up and down to that song. So
you know the story behind that, right? Why it does that?
Why they started playing it? Why it rocks? No.
Yeah. So when the students started doing that, and they basically engineers came in and were like, this is unsafe. So they had to reinforce with like the kind of shocks that are similar to what they use in NORAD in Colorado.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's actually like reinforced. They had to go in and reinforce all that because of that. That jumping like that. Yeah. So you were safe the whole time, buddy.
I can tell you, I have been in a lot of big environments. I've been in a lot of like, raucous crowds at football games. I have never been in a press box that moved. And this one moved significantly. It was pretty cool. So, but yeah, I mean, Camp Randall is really cool, but I think watching Michigan play Wisconsin at Lambeau Field would be pretty high on my choice in terms of iconic venues that I'd want to take in. So here's the thing. Let me see. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything here. Micah Johnson says from the Facebook page, he says the Big House. Hey, it's hard to beat the Big House for sure. I mean, it's my favorite stadium. Quick second would be close second, I should say, would be the Rose Bowl. It's just, dude, the Rose Bowl is beautiful. And let me say this about the Rose Bowl. I don't think UCLA deserves to play there. Like every time I see that UCLA is actually just playing a regular season game there, and it's like a quarter full, right? The stadium's mostly empty. I'm like, just get UCLA out of there. And I know that they're actually trying to like end their contract, or it sounds like they're trying to find ways out of their contract with the Rose Bowl so they can go play, I think, where the Rams play, like the regular season games there or something like that. Wow. But I've always viewed the Rose Bowl as like it's hallowed ground. And you can't have a shitty UCLA team just like messing up the good vibes there. So I'd rather have it sit empty until a big game is ready to be played there, or maybe have it be rotating games throughout the year.
Every week is an iconic game.
Yeah, different big matchups. Just go out to the Rose Bowl to play there. I mean, that's a hell of a lot better than wasting it with UCLA every single weekend. Gigi Vasquez from the then you know what? I've had a couple of good ideas tonight. Gigi Vasquez from the Facebook page says, I wish Michigan could play at Ford Field. Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised that we haven't seen that yet.
I think they will.
Maybe. Interesting. I mean,
Michigan State pulled it off with Penn State. I think.
Well, they did. Okay, so let me ask you this, Jared. Ford Field, it's indoor. It gets real loud. You pack about 70,000 fans in there?
75, yep.
Let's say Michigan does make the college football playoff. And let's say the weather late December is just god awful, right? I'm talking like blizzard conditions, frigid cold, just brutal. Would you be okay with Michigan moving the playoff game to Ford Field versus having it in the Big House?
First thought, no, but depends on the opponent. If it's an SEC team coming up, absolutely not. No. We're playing outside. If we're bumping up against another Midwest team, we might as well do it inside.
To be determined is really your answer. I don't listen. I think it would be
it'd be loud, boy. I'm telling you. I went to the the Detroit, Minnesota game last year. You remember?
Yep.
And I took my daughter, and I have never been in a louder venue. They were like 0.1 decibels away from breaking the NFL record, which is held by, I believe, Seattle, which is very loud. But it was incredibly loud in there. Like it was. Yeah,
there would certainly be an advantage, I think, for being the home team in Ford Field during a playoff game and being able to utilize that noise. You know that Michigan fans would be, I mean, first playoff game really in Ford Field for Michigan. Like, I just think it would be off the charts. But at the end of the day, Jared, like, I don't care what the weather is. If you are breathing and you are physically able, you hold that game at Michigan Stadium, regardless of who the opponent is. I just feel like that stadium for a college football playoff atmosphere in late December with the elements, I think is like a throwback to like the same thing I was talking about earlier about Lambeau Field, where it's like the, you know, the helmets without the actual bar on the front of it and the old like leather, like type uniforms that they were wearing, like just a throwback environment for like a big time game. I think that would be awesome. But
that's the only thing I will say about the big houses. It's, and you've been to a lot more venues than I have, but I've been to different sporting venues. It's just not as loud. It just isn't. I mean,
yeah.
The acoustics just kind of go out, right? It's the way it's designed. And I've seen some renderings of like adding more press boxes to try to contain it. And I mean, God, could you imagine if you threw a dome on the big house though? 110,000 people screaming.
I did some edits of that. I did some like renderings.
Your eardrums would bleed. It'd be so loud in there.
People were pissed. People were pissed when I put a roof on the big house. Cannot do that. Football is meant to be played in the elements.
Just a retractable roof.
Oh, let's see here. I'm going through more of the comments before we finish up here with a fun little segment, I think, to get us out.
I like it.
Let's see here.
I'm worried about it, but I guess
questions. A lot of people talking about playing at Ford Field. All right, here's what we're going to do, guys. We're at 50 minutes here, and I know that sometimes when we go along over an hour, the Facebook feed tends to cut out and say, like, look, you guys have gone on long enough. So I put together this little thing. I looked it up to get some of my questions here from like different articles that I found online, but we're going to do something called fan, fair, or foul. Fan, fair, or foul. That is a mouthful to say, especially if you're somebody like me who often says inappropriate things with tongue twisters. Fan, fair, or foul, Jared. I'm going to go through and I'm going to ask you these 8 questions, and I want to know from you, is this fair for fans or is this a fan foul? Let's start with number 1, and this might be controversial. There might be some people in the comment section that are pissed off about the direction that this could go. Number 1, Jared, fair or foul, standing the entire game as a fan. Standing the entire game in the stands as a fan, fair or foul?
Foul. I mean, it's just, I was at, again, Minnesota Lions game for the division. We didn't stand the whole game. You don't have to stand the whole game. I mean, you're talking timeouts and everything, or just during play? During timeouts, maybe you sit down, maybe, I don't know. But during the play of the game, the entire time, you're not a person who sits and then, you stand maybe on a big third down or something. Yeah. You're standing the entire game. No, sit, stand for me. That's not, I don't think it's a foul. It doesn't bother me when people do it. Cause honestly, somebody stands up in front of me, I stand up. You know what I mean? It triggers it, but yeah, I don't stand the whole damn game. I move when the crowds move.
We've got Dwayne Johnson saying that it's a foul. We got Tony Petrosky advocating for it. He says it's fair.
The whole damn game.
Matt Kirby says he loves it. It is fair. Gigi Vasquez says it is a foul. Look at they're kind of split down the middle here.
Gigi's sitting in her picture.
Darren Mace says, sit your ass down. Rico says it's a foul. Yeah, Scott from the YouTube page says sit your ass down. Hold on.
EG nailed it. There's a time to stand. There you go.
That's fair. Okay, yes, there is a time to stand, and that's where I'm on. Like, I took my son to a soccer game at Soldier Field in Chicago, and there were some people who just stood for the entire event, and I just don't understand. Like, you got these nice seats in there. It's nice and comfortable. I get it if there's a big play or something that happens. But when you stand the entire game, like something to think about is when you stand the entire time, even if the person behind you is standing, maybe it is a kid. Maybe it's like an 8-year-old who's there to see their first game and they can't see beyond you because you're there causing a ruckus and for some odd reason feel the need to stand the entire game. But I have seen this. We see this time and time again, like on social media, where there are fights breaking out in the stands because there are some people who just don't want to sit down. As a photographer, Jared, I can tell you, I've been down on the field and I have heard commotion behind me. And there are arguments that take place in Michigan Stadium every single time I'm there where somebody is screaming at somebody else to sit down and the person in front of them just doesn't give a shit. So I am also of the mindset that it's a foul. I think if there's a big thing happening or there's a big play and everybody gets on their feet, sure, go ahead and stand. But standing the entire game, to me, that's foul play. Jared, let's go on to number 2. Look, you seem to be an expert in this area, so I am very excited to hear what your answer is. Jared, fair or foul, moving down to get closer seats if you see that the seats down closer are empty? Fair or foul?
100% fair. 100%. I don't even have to explain it. They're empty. You got to get closer to support your team. right?
But you didn't pay for those. You didn't pay for those.
What? Nobody paid for them. They're free. It's fair and they're free. And I will share my hack, right? Before I go into any game, I will go on various ticket outlets and see nice seats that are still for sale. And then I will watch those seats because I'm assuming that they didn't sell because the game's about to start. And then I will move to those seats knowing. So life hack for you guys, if you ever got kicked out by an usher or by a person who comes and says, oh, these are my seats, go on the seat selling sources, find seats that are still available. There you go. Don't buy them. Don't buy them. Just take them.
Matt Kirby is using his daughter as a canary in the coal mine. He says it's fair. I send my daughter first.
That's why we have daughters, Matt. Beautiful. I do the same thing. Send that little girl down there.
Tony Petrosky says it's fair if you're eyeballing it long enough and nobody shows up. Then yes, moving down is fair. Bobby from the Facebook page says it's fair, but I just stay in my seat. They might come back. Rico says it's fair.
He doesn't do it.
Everybody seems to think that this is unanimous here, that it is fair. Nobody paid for them, so I'll fill them in. Is Micah Johnson from the Facebook page says fair. You can't lose your seat if you never showed. Nobody says she'll listen for a while. Yeah, I guess this is why I think it's fair. But I don't do it for this reason here, for what Rico says from the Facebook page. He says the walk of shame. And what I can only imagine is it's when you make the move down and then the people who showed up late come to get their seats, and then you've got to get out of those seats and walk back up to where your seats are. I'm just not the kind of person who's built that way. I would feel embarrassed doing that.
There's a strategy to it, okay? And the last time I did it was the Tigers playoff game, and we were way up here, and the guys were like ants. And so then we moved down to about, I don't know, maybe 6 rows from the field. Great seats, stayed the whole time, rocked out with everybody. But as soon as you steal those seats, you got to look for other seats to pivot to in case that happens. Then you act confused, so there's no walk of shame, Rico. Oh, geez, I'm in the wrong row. And then you move down to the other one that you already got.
That seems so obvious. Oh, goodness.
Always have a backup plan.
I know we've moved on from this one, but Fred coming in off the top rope on the controversial sit or stand the entire game. Fred says nothing more irritating than someone yelling at you to sit down. If someone is standing in front of you, you have to stand to see yourself. If you're too old or lazy to stand, don't come. Oh, that is.
Look how tall Fred is, too. Look at his profile picture. He's bigger than the stadium. So, of course,
guy's like 6'8".
He's like 7 foot tall. Screw you guys.
Wearing a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. All right, here we go. Yeah, a lot of people saying just play dumb. It's a good call. It's fair. Okay, so we're pretty much unanimous that moving down, if the seats are vacant in front of you, that is fair play. Let's go to number 3, Jared. I wonder where you stand on this.
Oh, boy.
Booing your own team. So you're in the stadium. Things aren't going the way you want them to go. You're booing your own team. Is that fair or foul for a fan? Booing your own team.
The actual, like, boo, I don't do that.
Yeah.
You know, I won't do that. But, like, if they're making just ridiculous play calls, I'll yell, like, yo, what the, you know, I'll yell things.
So you'll just shout. You'll shout obscenities into the air. Okay.
Correct. Gotcha. I'll curse, but I won't boo. There's a line. You know what I mean? Come on, man.
Matt Kirby says never. Darren May says hell no. But Tony Petrosky says he's been known to do it, actually. He thinks it's fair. Gigi from the Facebook page says it's foul. Tyrone says it's fair. His expectations are high. Listen, I am of the mindset that this is fair play. If there is some shit going, you've probably paid, if you're in that stadium and you've brought your family to that football game, you've probably paid $400 or $500 to be in your seat. And if the product doesn't match the expectation, then as a fan, damn it, you are more than well within your right to stand up and let them know that you are not happy with the product you see on the field. So, I think it's fair to boo.
So, having been a fan of these guys for a long time, maybe I'm just booed out. Like you just lost. I realized it doesn't work. It doesn't help anything. You know, we went 0-16, so maybe I just, yeah.
Oh boy, Micah Johnson says he's 5'6", so everybody sit the hell down. Hey, that's
everybody.
Fair. That's fair. If you're 5'6" and you got some guy that's 6 foot standing in front of you, that's going to make for a difficult afternoon, regardless of whether or not you're standing. When it comes to booing, Bobby from the Facebook page says it's fair, but he's never done it. But he's with you, Jared. He will shout obscenities into the air, regardless of whether or not children are around. Rico says booing only okay if you direct it to the coach. I guess I'm not sure how exactly
You got to find Sharon.
When you're in a stadium with 110,000 people, how do you direct that energy at one person?
I love it.
Oh boy. Seth Scott from the YouTube page says it's foul. You don't call your wife out till you get home. Do the same thing with the team.
You don't call your wife out at all, brother. Are you crazy?
Well, yeah.
I did that one time and I'm divorced. So that's
never call your wife out, damn it. All right, let's move on to the next one here. Where did we stand on that? Where are we? Booing your own team? It seemed like everybody's pretty split on that. It's fair, but never done it sort of thing. Kind of 50-50.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go 50-50 on that one. How about this? Number 4. This one irritates the shit out of me when I see this, Jared.
Where you stand?
Number 4, fan, fair, or foul, being on your cell phone at the game. You're at the game, things are going on around you, a play is taking place, and you're messing around on your cell phone. Is that fair or foul? We live in a very technological society. We are attached to our phones all the time. Jared, how do you feel about being on your phone during the game?
Me personally, hard pass. Ain't gonna happen. For one, I mean, if you're at if you're at the big house, if you're on your phone, I don't know what you're doing, looking at pictures because the Wi-Fi sucks. So you're not doing anything. You know what I mean? Now Lions, I'll go to Lions games. They have decent Wi-Fi. I might check my fantasy team, but not while they're playing. You know what I'm saying? Like I might
get in on your bets.
Check out my bets, but not while they're playing. You know what I mean? The quarterback's not dropping back, and I'm checking Facebook. Now, I will say because sometimes some people that come to the game aren't super fans, like people here. For my daughters, like they'll be on their phones and shit. I don't care about that. You know what I mean? Not everybody is there to be a super fan like we are. So I get it. Sometimes people are just to support you because that's what you like to do. My 5 for years, but no.
Listen. Everybody seems to be pretty unanimous in this one. Jill from the Facebook page says foul. Rico says it's shameful. Matt Kirby says it's absolutely lame as hell. Rick from the YouTube page says I'll just say he's not a fan of it.
And the Lord's name. Like he's serious.
Gigi agrees with you. There is no service at the big house. Yes, it's really hard to be on your phone. Fred
zooming in on her phone. I get that. Gigi said she zooms in.
Brent says it's foul. Bobby says it's foul. Corey says pay too much for that ticket to be on my phone. I think a lot of people feel that way.
The Wi-Fi doesn't work. Blocking it, standing up.
Stay off your phone. I mean, you pay all the money to be in the stadium to have that experience. Damn it, Jared, there's got to be one place in this world, one place in this life where we're just comfortable setting the phone down for a few hours. And if it's not at a sporting event, then where the hell is it? That has to be our last, sacred ground of just let's put the damn devices down and just be in the moment. Let's just be here. But everybody wants to capture it, which is very hypocritical coming from a guy who stands down on the sideline with the best view in the stadium and spends the entire time looking through a little viewfinder like this. So
I don't hate when people are using their phone to take pictures and stuff though. You know what I mean? Like I don't hate that, zooming in on plays or whatever. But if you're literally if I see you texting people, I'm like, dude, just why even be here?
That's fair.
Everybody that you need to be here is here. We're all with you.
All right, seems like we're all pretty much unanimous on that one. Let's move to number 5. Again, we got 8 of these. So number 5, and I think that this one's sort of running out. It's not as big as it used to be, but I do wonder if you still see it because of the pricing. Jared, fanfare or foul, sneaking alcohol into the stadium. Sneaking alcohol into the stadium, is this fair or foul? As a fan, I can already see you're giving me the thumbs up. Where do you stand?
Fair, completely fair. What are you talking about?
Are you saying this from personal experience?
Yeah, it's completely fair. Then you order a Coke and you mix your whiskey in there. I've seen people do it. I personally think it's, just classless. But if you buy shooters, they're plastic and they don't set the alarms off. So that's what I've been told. Maybe during the Illinois-Michigan game a couple years ago when it was about 6 degrees, I survived off Fireball in the stands to stay warm.
I was going to say, in another time
after the game, yes.
In another time and in another life, I too snuck a thing of Fireball in, and it did help get me through a football game. Rico says it's fair if you can pull it off. Tony Petrosky's not having it. He just says foul with a bunch of exclamation points. Fred from the Facebook page says it is fair. Tyrone says call your sponsor before it's too late. Fair, don't get caught. That's Fred. I think I already did his from the Facebook page. Bobby says it's fair. Harold says it's fair. Seth says, hell yeah, sneak it in. Do you really want to pay $25 for a 12-ounce beer? I think that's a big part of it, and that's why I've settled on I think it's fair as well. And I said this during the last segment, you're already paying like $400 or $500 to be in the building. Now you want to get a few beers. You got to pay like $100 for a few beers, 4 beers. What are we doing? I think the price gouging is out of control. And I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole about YouTube TV and ESPN and ticket prices and all the other bullshit that's going around sports right now. But it is expensive to do anything. And if you can save yourselves $100 by sticking a flask, wherever you got to put it to get it in the building, I'm all for it. Go ahead and do it.
Yep, deal.
Gigi says you can bring unopened drinks into USC Stadium in clear bags. Is that true?
It's Gigi. It's got to be true.
That's insane. I've never heard of such a thing.
That's amazing.
Tony Petrosky's talking about bringing weed in. I think that happens quite often, actually, with the electric pens, for sure. I think people are sneaking those in. In fact, I know they're sneaking them in.
Smell it.
When Michigan beat Ohio State, 2023, I was down on the field when everybody had rushed in, and there were people smoking blunts on the field. It turned into like a big reggae party down there after Michigan beat Ohio State. Tony, there is certainly a lot of that going on. And Harold says it. He says, just bring the pen. Okay, everybody seems to be in agreement. Bring the alcohol in, bring the weed in, have yourself a great time. You paid money for it. Number 6, Jared, fanfare or foul, rushing the field after a big win. Oh, sorry, mic cut out. Where do you stand on this? I'm a little bit. I'll wait to hear what you have to say. But is it fair or foul rushing the field after a win?
I think it's fair, but I think it's for me. It's got to be a rivalry. I don't know. You see some field rushes where it's like Arizona State beats the number 2 team, but they're not a rival or anything, and then they rush the field. Ohio State, Michigan, always. Yep, I'm good with that. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? I'm good with those, but I just think it's getting overplayed and then tearing down the goalpost. I think that, to me, that's dumb. I don't see any value there. But I think if it's a rivalry game, you know what I mean, then I'm okay with it. It's got to be a rivalry, though. I just you can't rush the field every damn game because you beat a ranked team. Stop it.
Yeah, here's the issue I have with it in general. I think that back in the day, it used to mean something and was kind of this cool thing that you would see take place. Maybe it's just a byproduct of the era that we live in this life where everything is driven by social media and trying to go viral and do things. But I just think we're headed in a dangerous, where like you see, you've probably got people like you, Jared, sneaking alcohol into the stadium, getting completely drunk, and then going down on the field, acting belligerent. We have seen, regular citizens running up to players, holding their phone up, and then giving a player the middle finger and like doing these things. And I think that what it is now isn't what it used to be. And I'm not saying it used to be all, vanilla type stuff from fans on the field. But I just think that in today's day and age, I'm concerned with what it means. In addition to players getting trampled or sort of losing sight of where they're at or running into some, some not so great interactions with players and fans. I just think it's a recipe for disaster in today's cell phone era, today's social media era, because there's always somebody trying to push the boundaries. There's always somebody trying to do something. Speaking of that Michigan-Ohio State game, I saw a fan down on the field grab a player's helmet and take off running. I don't know if they actually escaped the stadium, got away with it. Kudos to them if they did, because you've got an awesome keepsafe. But that's the type of shit that's going on in the field now when people are rushing. They're not just out there to like celebrate and have fun. They're out there smoking weed and stealing shit and trying to go viral and interacting with players. And it just seems like a recipe for disaster.
You just named a bunch of celebratory having fun things. That's all I heard. You ain't stopping 110,000 people, though, so move on to the next one.
All right, let's go. Jared, this one's going to hit near and dear to you. Number 7. And I've heard people that have an issue with this, but number 7, wearing the jersey of your favorite player. Is that fan fair or fan foul? Wearing the jersey of your favorite player.
Of course that's fair. What is the point? What do we do here? What else are we supposed to wear, Chris?
I don't know, but I'll say this. There are people that have a legitimate issue with, maybe I should put a caveat in there.
Yeah,
as an adult, right? If you're a child, if you're, I don't know, kind of like a preteen sort of age, like wearing the jersey of your favorite player, I think that people are by and large okay with that. But there is a movement of people out there who think it is inappropriate for grown men, adults, to be wearing jerseys of other adults.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass on this. I don't even know what you're talking about. People wear political shit nowadays. Like everybody's wearing. I mean, what are we doing? Like, so that dude, he can wear a hat or a shirt and call you out for wearing a jersey. Like, plus you're supporting the kids. Now the kids get a cut of that. So
there you go.
You're supporting the kids, so you can go to hell with that idea. Plus, I like walking around, man. I'll tell you, like, my favorite jersey I have is the Tom Brady Citrus Bowl for his last game against Alabama. And like, I'll wear that, and people will be like, "Oh, that's a dope jersey. I remember that game." And then I'll see somebody wearing, like an old Woodson jersey with the Rose Bowl. I'll be like, "That's a dope jersey." Like, and I'll tell you, hockey. Any hockey fans in here? Hockey has so many different types of jerseys. When I go to Red Wings games, and people just incredible jerseys, and they will call each other out like, "Oh, that's an awesome jersey." I remember. I mean, no, it's completely fair. If somebody says,
I don't know where it came from. I don't know where it started, but there and still is a big conversation about adults wearing jerseys and wearing the name of somebody else on your back when you're an adult. There is a big movement of people who just think that's foul play if you're a fan. I'm not in that. I don't wear jerseys, really. I don't, if I'm at home, I'll throw one on when I'm with the kids or whatever. I don't wear jerseys out, but I don't have any problem with somebody that wears it, especially to a football game. I mean, what else are you going to wear?
I wear autographed jerseys out sometimes.
Well, that's gangster. I mean, look at your wall back there. I mean, you're drenched in autographed jerseys.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to, what is this? Maybe I had 9 here because I've got 8 written twice.
Oh no.
All right, we got 2 more left here before we get out of here, as we're at an hour and 10 minutes, and the Facebook feed will cut at some point here in the near future. Number 8, Jared, and this is one that Dwayne Jones from earlier can maybe relate to. Number 8, fanfare or foul, leaving before the game is over. Jared, is this fanfare or foul, leaving before the game is over?
God, situational, right? Situational. You're getting your ass handed to you, but it's got to be legit, because how many times have we seen it? You leave and then you start hearing noise, like, what's going on? You ain't coming back in. So, I mean, I usually leave, like, if they're winning huge here in Ann Arbor, it's going to be a mess getting out. It's not a big team that they're playing, you know what I mean? But if it's a big game, I mean, I watch the whole thing, you know what I mean? Down to the last minute. What's the difference? There's 110,000 of us trying to get out. So, but yeah, man, God forbid you leave that one time, you know what I mean?
That's the risk. That's the risk, Tony. And I think a lot of people feel this way. Tony says, if it's a blowout, I'm leaving. Screw traffic. But don't 50,000 other people generally have the same idea, and you end up getting caught in traffic anyway. And so I think, Jared, I think what you brought up is an important part of this, because so many times some of the great things that we see happen and play out are unexpected. The game sort of takes a turn, and I just can't imagine. I've never been in that situation, but I can't ever imagine a situation where you're in a game, it's a blowout, you leave because you want to save yourself time, and then you flip on the radio because you're just curious how it's going to play out, and all of a sudden they start to roar back and some things start to happen. And if you're not in that stadium when a classic "where were you" type moment happens, I would think as a sports fan, that's got to be one of the biggest kicks in the gut that you can have.
Do you remember the Rich Rod era, the 66-60 Illinois game or
Illinois,
whatever?
Yeah. Yep.
I had 2 military friends that got recognized on the field at the game that left at halftime because they were like, "Oh, it's just Illinois." It was like 4 overtimes. It was an amazing game. They left at halftime.
Well, believe it or not, there was talk, and I'm not going to say specifically who, but there were people that were discussing leaving the Rose Bowl early against Alabama. There were people that were so frustrated with what was going on that they were considering leaving that game. Can you imagine? Can you imagine for some odd reason getting to a point where you're a Michigan fan and you're thinking, like, I see where this is headed. This isn't going anywhere. It's going to be another disappointing Michigan loss against Bama. And then all of a sudden things just flip and things turn.
The whole game.
Telling you.
Yeah, okay.
We can talk about it off air. I'll tell you who it was.
Yeah, I got you.
All right, here we go. Last one, Jared. I think we're all in agreement. Well, I don't know. It seems like some people want to leave and beat traffic. It's kind of split 50-50 here. Leaving early is okay.
I think what we determined was situational.
Situational. Okay,
40-point
fair enough.
Yeah.
But I would always lean towards staying.
Yeah.
Going back to what we said before, you've paid all that money to be there. You might as well get as much out of it as you possibly can, and you never know what's going to happen. And you got plenty of time to do the shit you were doing before. You want to sit around, you're going to go back home. You're home all the time. Spend that 3 hours in the stadium and enjoy it. Soak it up, especially if you're there with family and kids, and make some memories. All right, Jared, this is the last one. And I think that I would imagine, I feel like people are going to be split on this, but I'm interested to see where people go on this one. Final one, fair or foul, being unwelcoming to rival fans. Being unwelcoming to rival fans, is it fair or foul? For example, there's a game taking place in Ann Arbor, November 29th. And if anybody out there in the comments has ever had the pleasure of going down to Columbus, wearing your maize and blue and walking through the streets and walking into the stadium, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So as a fan, is it fair or foul to make sure that the rival fans coming into your town feel a little uncomfortable?
100% fair, but I draw a line, right? Like I've been to Spartan Stadium, that shithole thing that they call a stadium down here. Been to Ohio State. Like there was times where both places I was like, man, we probably shouldn't even be here. Like to make somebody that uncomfortable over a freaking game is too much. I remember when you had the RV on the corner there, had all the beers and stuff. The Ohio State game, I was there. And there was a couple of Ohio State guys that came over and they grabbed a beer and they were shooting the shit. Like, I'm good with that, right? And we're going to talk trash to them. They're going to talk trash to us. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'll boo them, point at them, but I'm not going to start cussing them out and just being ridiculous. To me, that's not professional. It's not who I am. But I'm going to make them know that they're in Ann Arbor, right? Like, things like that. But some people take it too far. I mean, we've seen some horrible stories, right? I think it was that not a few years ago, that Dodgers fan that almost got killed outside of the stadium. Like, that's it's a game, bro. Calm down. Like, but I'm gonna let you know where you're at. You're in Ann Arbor, right? But
you see it all the time on social media.
Yeah, I think
you see this. Yeah, but there's some people that say that about Michigan as well. But you see this all the time where on social media, there's fans punching each other out in the stands, or they're on the concourse and they're fighting each other and they're like jumping each other. Like, I just think I agree with you, Jared, and I agree with what a lot of people are saying in here. It's fair, but you don't do it to kids. And there's a line that you draw, like where there's rivalry banter, and maybe that's the biggest problem, is like people don't know where to draw the line. They've like, in a lot of ways, look at what happened to the Michigan State rivalry. Like, even leading up into this game, some of the discussion surrounding this game was just flat out toxic. And maybe people who don't spend a lot of time on social media aren't exposed to it. It's just a natural thing, I guess, to take. But you know how Twitter is and a lot of these social media apps. It's just toxic. But I think that's the biggest problem, is people don't know where to draw the line. And I've done it. I don't wear maize and blue when I go to Columbus because I'm working, and it's not appropriate to wear Michigan colors when you're working the Michigan sideline. But I've seen it go on around me, and I know that Columbus is notorious for making Michigan fans feel very uncomfortable and very unsafe. And I think that to a certain extent, it happens in Ann Arbor as well. So I will say that it is fair, but also know your limits, and I think that when you don't know the difference, or you take sports too seriously, or an argument turns into like a physical altercation over the Wolverines versus the Buckeyes, that's when I think you got to take a step back and like reevaluate your life choices and where you're at, and whether or not this is something that you really want to take that far. Matt Kirby's questioning whether or not he can hit people. I've said this before. I've run into Matt Kirby a number of times. He's a big guy. You don't want to be getting in a fist fight with Matt Kirby. Gigi says that she is respectful. It's all fun. You can be competitive and respectful. That's where I'm at. Rico says it's foul unless they get disrespectful with you first. Corey says some people take sports too seriously. It's called entertainment. Tony Petrosky's pointing out the fans in Philly, like for sure. Philly, New York, like those types of fans. Yeah, it can go a little bit far. I'm all for making people feel like they're in enemy territory. I think that there's a line that you can draw. So I will call it fair, but much like leaving early, there's certain requirements that need to be made. There's, it depends on who you're interacting with, but by and large, just keep it civil. Have fun at sports, treat each other with kindness, but if you see a Buckeye, it's fine to talk a little shit. All right, Jared, 118 minutes. We didn't cut a feed, so that's pretty good. That might be a record for us. Tony Petrosky says, go Blue, see you Thursday. We are tentatively right now planning on doing a live show on Thursday, but it depends because Jared's going to be in Puerto Rico. He's going to be wearing his, what do you call it? Banana hammock. Is that what you said you were going to be wearing? Is that what it is? Did I say that right? He's going to be on the beach, basically in a thong, and he's going to try to go live from Puerto Rico. And I don't know what the signal is out there, so we're going to test it first on Thursday. Make sure that Jared is actually...
It's not a third world country. You know that, right? I've been there before.
We're going to make sure that the signal is strong enough and that Jared has on adequate sun protection and coverage, right, to make sure that this is still PG and the kids can be on. We will. So Thursday will be a tentative show. I hope that we can go live, though. The plan right now is to make it work, and then we'll get into some predictions about Northwestern, and we'll talk any sort of last minute details we want to go over. But even more importantly, Thursday is what, Jared? Fan-led Thursday. It's an opportunity for you guys to run the show. We kind of sit back and we just, we answer whatever questions you have, whatever topics you want us to tackle. I don't know. Could be football, could be marriage related, could be Jared's fashion choices. We could talk about whatever you want, but Thursday is your show. So until then, Jared, I appreciate you hopping on for an hour and 20 minutes. And as always, once again, the comment section was incredibly active. So appreciate all you guys for participating. We will hopefully see you right back here on Thursday. Take care, everybody.